refresh. Okay, everyone, we are here. We are live with this awesome dude, Dr. Cordie Williams. Many of you have been introduced to him via social media now. This guy has got some stuff going on. And Cordie, welcome, bro. Glad you are
Thanks
here.
for having me.
Yeah.
Glad to be here, brother. It's an honor.
So this is, we're in some unusual times, and I wanted to, you know, as a fellow chiropractor, as a fellow American, I wanted to leverage your influence that you've gained by being just honest and being straightforward and being truthful to who you really are. The country is behind you. I truly believe the country is behind people that are standing up for their freedoms and their liberties, right? So talk to us, give everybody a little bit of an idea who you are first, right? Because they may know you as just that Marine that was, you know, up on a megaphone, right? I'm going to put that picture up for the people that are watching. You've all seen this picture, right? And Cordie can't see this on the screen unless he's staring at his phone, but he's not. But we all have seen this picture of this guy with this megaphone standing and talking down police, and talking, I would say, it's almost like talking some common sense and some reminders for these people. So we're going to point you to that video at the end. So Cordie, tell people who you are.
Yeah, so, you know, I obviously I'm a chiropractor. Before I was a chiropractor, I was in the Marine Corps, went in at 18. 1998 went in. I'm actually 40, right? Even though I look like I'm 5. And
I'm 40.
Got out of the Marine Corps in 2002. And, you know, it was one of those things. I kind of grew up, you know, I've been saying this on multiple shows, you know, because I think I've probably had 14 different interviews. And you're right, the country's like totally behind this, because it's kind of like we're getting people from New Zealand, Australia, getting people to send in emails, thanking the movement, thanking us for what we're doing. And, you know, the movement's not about me. It's about us becoming free, and it's about us having choice. But, you know, some of that freedom and choice that I kind of had in my blood started when I was a kid, because I grew up with 2 different grandparents that were in different military branches.
Oh, wow, okay.
That served in World War II. My brother's was a sub-nuke officer in the Navy, and I enlisted before him in 1998. Got out 2002, thereabouts of 2000. I was giving my brother his first salute when he became a officer in the Navy. And I can remember him like calling me and asking him for directions. He doesn't like to admit this, and feedback on his wall locker inspections, right? And then once, the way it works with officers, and if you're an officer out there, God bless you, I love officers, but the way it works is officers know everything, right? Officers know everything. Right? So once he got the bars, man, he knew everything. He knew everything. And he's older, so it's like a year and a half, but he thinks it's like 10 years. So it's kind of funny. But that kind of gives you a little bit of history about my patriotism. Mm-hmm. Came from a kind of a rough upbringing, middle class, lower class home. Got my economics degree while I was in the Marine Corps. And then maybe finished up like another year when I got out. Played around about 3 years. Got, you know, a couple of different certifications in Pilates, created a technique called functional resistance stretching, started working in the NFL. And then that's where I kind of like led into chiropractic, because I met a guy that actually the Cerrone family, Dennis and Diane, know really well, named Dr. Michael Hatrack. And he was he practiced in Cherry Point, New Jersey for a long time. Now he practices in Alpharetta, Georgia. And he's been my best friend for probably 13 years. But he and my own struggles with my health got me into chiropractic. And then we're here now, basically, right?
Long story short, right? That's really great.
That's a 5-minute recap, Josh.
Yeah, no, I love it. So just thinking, you know, knowing that your brother was in the Navy and you were a Marine, was there a little animosity between the two of you in a fun kind of way?
Oh, of course, man. Yeah, I call him a squid. He calls me a jarhead. Okay. You know, it's that whole rivalry thing. Yeah. You know, once you get over that initially, it's kind of like we're all brothers in arms. Yeah, right?
I believe that.
Yeah, no, totally. And everybody in any military branch is supportive. I don't know how it was 30 years ago or 40 years ago. I can't speak to that, but it's definitely that way now. But there is a lot of playing around that goes. And most of the time, guys will tease themselves. Like Marines are always the one, like we're known for, essentially being stupid, right? Like, hey, I run into wall, right? Big rock into little rock, right? So we're kind of those guys. We have that reputation.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty funny. I think in another life I was in the military. A lot of my friends are Army and Navy. You're the Marine, I know, and Air Force, I know, and it's really they're really a cool breed of individuals. And I mean, the thing that's so amazing to me, the people that have been in the service, right, that had to go through all of this training for their country, right, for our freedoms. I mean, they come out. At least my friends have come out so level-headed, and I mean,
yeah,
they're just like very focused. They're whatever profession they're in. I mean, I have friends that are nurses, that are athletic trainers, and they are just dead focused on their purpose.
yeah,
And it's hard to push them away from that. And I truly see that with you, with people with natural health, right? Being a chiropractor, and I see that with you as being a leader at this point. I mean, I've known you now for a little while. I'm really starting to
I
see
think it's
your
been
true
like 10
colors.
years, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to see your true colors like really come out. And I don't mean the red, white, and blue. I mean like who you are as a leader, and that's really powerful. But let's jump into what people saw. What were people experiencing? You were in Sacramento. I want to just
Yeah,
relive this story for a few minutes with our audience, because this was like a defining moment for a lot of people. I don't know how many thousand people. It looked like quite a bit of people were there. But that defining moment where I'm just going to paint this picture for everybody. We had a line, I don't know, 30 people. I have no idea how many these guys in SWAT gear. I mean, like full blown, like
yeah,
armored vest, right? The helmets, the shields, the whole thing. For all I know, there was maybe weapons or anything. I don't know. But it looked quite scary. It looked like something I would see way
yeah,
back in the day in a place where you wouldn't want to be. Like it's scary.
yeah. Well, before I get into that story, I guess what I'll say is to kind of paint the picture of how intense it was when the adrenaline came down.
Mm.
The day after, I was at church, and I was sitting outside church, and we were listening to it on the phone because, I'm not going to wear a facial condom.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wear a mask. I don't care what you do. You can pin me down, slam my skull into the wall. I'm not wearing a mask, and you're not going to force me to do it unless you got a lot of people and several guns, right? So I'm sitting outside. I'm sitting outside in the car, and we're watching church, and I got really emotional, and my wife's like, "What's going on?" I mean, I just like literally started crying, and it was a combination of different things. It was like the intensity of what happened the day before. And, I never went to combat. I had friends that did. But seeing the flip of like humanity change, like you have this perception of your country and you have this perception of freedom. And, honestly, that's why I got in this fight and like this perception of what America is.
Yeah.
And the day before, Saturday, when those police officers came out in that riot gear and they did what they did, that really had a huge impact on changing my perception of where America is at, where we are, and how vigilant. There we go. I'll get it right one of these times. How vigilant we need to be. I don't know why that's a hard word at 8 a.m. Pacific, right? But how vigilant we need to be with taking the fight to them. And really, we can't sit back on our laurels. Like nobody can, because Saturday morning, I flew in, I think Friday night or early Saturday morning, and myself and several of my friends, we get there to the Capitol, and, it's my organization and several other organizations that were involved in this protest. And we get to Sacramento, and we're all meeting at like 8:30. And there was probably only about 100 people there, Josh, at that, at that time, that early. But all these different rallies, and this is what I've been saying to every host and every interview and all that, it's like, it's like a 4th of July party. I mean, it really is at these rallies, if you want to call them peaceful protest, whatever. Yeah. But, it's not like the media's portraying in Michigan with guns and Confederate flags and all that crap. No, you got African-American brothers and sisters, you got Hispanic, Latino, It's just Americans.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, it's not privileged people and, like, oh, it's the white privilege. That narrative, I'm just going to debunk that narrative right now because that's not what it is. Or it's all anti-vaxxers. It's just not. It's not. It's people that want freedom and choice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I founded 1776 Forever Free, because I want people to have a choice. If you want to wear a facial condom, wear one. God bless you, right? If you want to stay quarantined and take the herd out of the herd immunity, do that. That's cool. Do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want the government to say that I got to do that, right?
Yes.
And before we came on camera, we were, you and I were kind of talking about like, okay, who's worse, like Cuomo or Newsom? I don't know, right? They're running a race together to see who's like worse. But and I don't want to talk the whole time, but like literally we start out at 8:30 in the morning. Maybe there's 50 California, highway patrolmen there, CHP, and they're talking. They're really nice. They're kind of wearing like almost like these scrub-like fatigues. They have their pistol on their side, but they're talking to everybody, like just chatting. There are no masks, no social distancing. Which I love what Brad Glowacki says. It's like, who said the 6 feet? I'm sure you saw this post, right, in our group that we're part of. But it's like, is it 3.5? Where's the peer-reviewed research? Is it 2.5, 7 feet? Like who made up that like arbitrary number, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, they're not maintaining social distancing. Everybody's talking. This is 8:30 in the morning. The protest doesn't start till 12.
Okay.
By 11:30, I think, I don't know, we probably had 1,000 people there by 11:30.
That's great.
By 12:30, just to give you an idea, there was 2,000 to 3,000.
Okay.
I mean,
big
just
jump.
people everywhere. Yeah, big jump, right? And so at 11:30, though, the police presence was, I don't know, 50 or 75. But an officer that we have as a point of contact came up to us and he goes, yeah, I just want you guys to know we're going to be forming a line of 200 of us at the front of the Capitol. And he didn't really tell us what that line was going to do. But then we all decided to basically go to the front of the Capitol because we felt like they were going to try to push us back. We weren't sure, but that's kind of what we thought. So we get to the front of the Capitol steps, and they have like this baton, almost like barricade, where there are batons, almost like you do a Marine Corps parade rest, where, if you can see me, I'm putting my arms in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, and the batons are lined up in a line. And now what they're doing is they're asking us to kind of move down a step. So we move down a step, 5, 6 minutes later, move down another step. And then everybody kind of caught on, okay, like you're trying to push us like off of our ground. You don't want us on Capitol grounds protesting, because the backstory to that, Josh, is that they pulled the permit, which like technically, supposedly, whatever, you have to have a permit to protest in California. And what I say to that is, here's my permit. It's so bizarre. Here's my permit. 100%, bro. Yeah, I know what you're about to say, right? Like, here's my permit. It's 1776. This guy named Thomas Jefferson signed it, right? He was one of the many people, right?
Yeah.
So, like crazy, right? And I wouldn't doubt if Cuomo's doing something like that too in your neck of the woods.
We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second, because, that's the other thing I hope that this program does, man. You guys got to get out and support Josh and his family, because the hands are amazing. They've been in chiropractic for a long time. I don't want to age your dad or your mom, but they've been in chiropractic for a long time. And Josh has taken reins, and we got to mobilize New York, right? Because, Josh and I were talking about it off camera. It's like, I don't know whether California is the head or the neck. But California and New York, we're kind of sharing this subluxation above C1 together, right? And we got to take all of it down. And when those two fall, hopefully, Attorney General Barr, or as they start to fall, or President Trump will kind of say, there's a dictatorship. There's, King George is happening in these two states, and we got to intervene. I don't know what that looks like, but I just kind of feel like that needs to happen. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of very odd. Growing up in New York, you always think of New York as like this tough city, this tough state where people are just like, will stand their ground for anything. And when this hit, it was such a surprise to me how much fear was instilled by media. It was like
Yeah.
it blew my mind. I'm like, okay, if they're just hammering this down so hard, what's really going on? And to me, like when you start to actually look at the real data and the real numbers,
Yeah.
like who's saying that that's even a like how are they allowed to say certain things? So and then I hear
100%.
California. It really is scary when I see how fearful people become because they make bad decisions when they're afraid. I mean, they get stressed out. They get, I mean, I mean, we see this in our practices, and it's sad because people are going to make themselves sicker by doing this, and then they're just, they just like shrink down and shrink down and shrink down,
Yeah.
and become less of a person. It's
Yeah.
sad because I think New York, California, these big states should be the states that are standing up for what's right because we have the most people. I mean, this is where the businesses are. This is where like all of this stuff is going on. Like, can we stand up? I mean, there's more of us.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think it really, and somebody said it early on. So, I'm going to steal this tagline or borrow it. It's like, look at how easy it was to, and not to say people haven't died. I was saying this with Dr. Stu and Teresa Warner, and I said it on several programs. Look how easy it was to create this fear narrative, and like I said, not to. There are definitely people that have died. I'm not going to say it's a sham. I'm not going to say anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
There is definitely an impact, but the impact it has had, the reaction to that, to what is there, what is really there, not the inflated numbers. I mean, it's just such a knee jerk. And how much are we going to, how many years is the economic impact of the decisions we make or don't make? How much is that going to, just hurt our country?
Yeah.
Like, what's the impact of that? What's the collateral damage of that 10, 20, 30 years from now? Right. And so, that's what I think about. I was at a meeting of like 5, 6 people, had a billionaire sitting next to me, and then, like a 2-star admiral. And he was kind of talking about from a leadership perspective. He wasn't criticizing because, I got the impression he really backs the president. But what he was definitely saying is that from the get-go, it would have been great if we could have approached this problem kind of in a dual way. Instead of just saying, okay, let's prevent as many people from not dying as possible, and let's quarantine the whole population. Well, what about the and part of that, right? Well, first of all, this is the first virus where we've ever quarantined the entire population. Mm-hmm. What if we would have quarantined the people that were most high at risk and most impacted and affected, and tried to simultaneously, right, allow the economy to flourish, or like it's almost like we just said, here, we're going to attack this one area, and then we'll just cross our fingers on the other area, and we'll have people buy into socialism because they don't want to go back to work because their unemployment check makes more than whatever than they used to make, right? And so there's no incentive to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just saw something. I can't remember. I think it was Maryland or Delaware. They're saying restaurants, I guess, are opening up and are wanting to open up, but they can't get their employees to come back because they're making more on unemployment than. Which is crazy, which really blows my mind. And I agree with you. The crazy thing is, like, we had a model which was terrible, that Ferguson model, which said 2.2 million people are going to die in the U.S. Which fine, like holy cow, bubonic plague. Maybe we take some precautions. Yeah. But when all the data started coming in, just in those first weeks or month, not even a month, those first weeks, like I think we're going to be like off by a lot. But all they did was tighten the reins and put more restrictions, which as a business owner, as a leader, it's like if you're getting information from the data, if someone's like, you know what, you're going to lose $100,000 tomorrow if you don't stop doing what you're doing. And then that same person or that employee goes, you know what, we're going to keep doing it. You lose $100,000, they come in again and they keep doing it over and over and over. And it's like, we just lost a couple $1 million because of the decision, because of this forecast. Yeah. Did we change because the forecast is different now? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? It's like crazy.
I totally agree, man. And it's a fascinating social experiment. I pray to God that there are people that are strong enough that when maybe this is pulled again at some point, I don't mean that from a conspiracy standpoint, but I just mean, if there's something like this, I mean, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I pray that the powers that be and the forces that be will use this as an example of what not to do. And,
Yeah.
I just want people to have freedom and choice. And it sounds like that's what you want, because I think we have to grow wide as Americans, and then we grow up. Like wide with our base, and then we go up. It can't be about a thing where we're out for, hey, I want, I'm going to talk about 5G, or I'm going to talk about, putting shots in my body, and I'm not even going to say the word. When you go there, you alienate a whole segment of people. So that's why our message, Chris Lippy and I, and Dr. Billy DeMoss has been heavily involved in organizing this rally in Sacramento, several other groups, Lee Dundas, the Freedom Angels, Live Free, all that. And our message has been about freedom and choice. We want people to have freedom. We want people to have choice. As Americans, that's not a Trump thing. That's not a liberal Democratic thing. That's not a Republican thing. That's not a I worship Buddha or I'm a Catholic. We all can unify on that message, because that's a red, white, and blue thing.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And that's what I really want people to start to do around the country. And that's how we can mobilize the masses to fight this. Because I think for us, we're going to do several big rallies, but we're also, not to telegraph what we're going to do, but we're going to find I think you have to find constitutional loopholes where they're saying, okay, you have to wear a mask in a store to get food, right? You have to wear a mask. Well, or you can't go to church right now. Well, that's a constitutional freedom. Well, what about a sit-in at churches where we get 10 churches and we mobilize people and we all go in on the same Sunday and we just sit in those churches? And it'd be great if they were close together. Like if you could find churches that were, a couple of miles away from each other. How can the cops arrest all those people? And when you have that much presence in civil disobedience, at some point people are going to say, you know what? Cops are going to say, I don't know if I agree with this. Now it's becoming an infringement on the oath I took.
Yeah. So get into that, because where we were finishing the story in Sacramento when you were there, because this is all coming full circle now. You got the officer that came to you guys and said, hey, listen, we're going to be forming a wall. We have the batons. And then eventually the video and the images that I got to see, I think I even saw it live. You see this wall of something that I would only see in a Terminator movie, right? Lined up, like you guys. I mean, this is, and everybody picture this. So for the people not in California, we all picture people in California like, hey man, peace, cool. So the rally was not crazy
surfing,
people, right?
Hair everywhere, right? Yeah.
No, but I mean, realistically, right? We all think of people when I go to California and go to conferences and visit friends, it's a very peaceful, it's a great place. I really enjoy it there. And so this protest wasn't some hardcore people, it wasn't riot. It was a protest. No. It was peaceful. It was a rally. It was like you said, a July 4th
babies,
party,
bro. Moms and babies. What are the little carriers?
Yeah.
Right. That I have to wear occasionally. My wife's lucky enough because Dr. Tanya's amazing. She takes care of. Man, I couldn't do this if it wasn't for my wife. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
But the carriers, moms with carriers, strollers, babies, kids, and so. I digressed a second ago, and I apologize for that.
No, it's perfect. We need to go there.
They're in fatigues. Its backstory is they start pushing us, and before you know it, they're pulling Heidi, Denise, Tara, and one other girl, slamming them to the ground, batoning them, arresting them.
Wow.
Right? And then a guy in a wheelchair, they pick his wheelchair up, and they move him. His name's Eddie. And he works for American Voice News, I think, if I got their name right. My good friend Ben owns that company and kind of runs it and all that. And so this guy's a cameraman, and he's on a wheelchair. Amazing dude, amazing patriot. They actually moved him out of the way, and they were mobilizing people underneath the Capitol. I guess they have tunnels or something, because Newsom sent in and got CHP to come from the Bay Area, because the Sacramento PD said we're not gonna be involved in this, because evidently when somebody's arrested, Josh, I didn't know this, on Capitol grounds, I guess they have to transfer them to the Sacramento PD to process them, book them, whatever. Sacramento PD is like, we're not getting involved. We're not doing this.
Wow.
So what happened is, after that initial push, and they ended up arresting 32 people total, including the 4 women that they assaulted and abused. These Starship troopers, the girls that were down there that were handcuffed, they saw the guys putting on riot gear, face shields, riot gear. They got snipers on the roof of the Capitol. They got drones coming out. I mean, it was like communist China, bro. So then we go from a force of 50 to 200 to 300, and they're pushing us back. And then, Josh, I see a pastor. I thought he got thrown to the ground. He publicly said he didn't, but I'm literally like maybe 5 inches from him, and we're walking back up because I had security take me away, a security team we had. And they're like, Doc, you're going to get arrested. You're going to get arrested. Because, dude, I was so close to getting pulled in and getting arrested like 4 times at least. Right? And a couple of things kept going through my mind, particularly my wife, and how PO'd my wife would be if I got arrested. Right? And so I went back up to the group, and they had pushed us probably 500 yards. Because, I don't know, I'll say maybe the whole in front of the Capitol, maybe it's 1,000 yards, 1,500 yards, I don't know, from the Capitol steps to the street.
Okay.
I could be overestimating, but it's quite a big distance. They pushed us back halfway. They pulled the pastor in, who's like a 6'3", 250 guy. He's just like a beast, right? They manhandle him, okay? And by this point, there's 300 Starship troopers. They end up pushing us all the way to the wall that you guys saw in the video.
Yeah.
And now they're up on the wall, and they had pushed some women off. And several times in videos, I said, I'm ashamed to be an American right now. I am ashamed to be in this country right now. And that's when several people just handed me a megaphone, and kind of what you saw is what you saw. And, there's a lot of profanity in there. There's a lot of profanity before I got on the megaphone, by the way. If you play that tape back, there's somebody screaming at the police officers, and it's me. And I'm not an anti-police guy. I love law enforcement. I love firefighters. I love Navy personnel, Army, Marines, Coast Guard. But we all took an oath. And that oath is to defend people that can't defend themselves. And so when I saw that power being abused, and I knew that besides getting arrested, getting beat down, or physically hurting somebody, one of the police officers, there was nothing I could do. I felt very helpless. I just tried to like really touch them with my passion through that megaphone. That was my goal.
Yeah. And it really, you said something to me or said not to me, but on that megaphone that I just like resonated with me. And I've been like thinking about this all the time. Like you're as someone in the military, you said you're taught to protect the country from enemies, both foreign and domestic. And I mean, is this almost seems like they're the overstepping the people the government officials in these states overstepping their bounds, and maybe even legally overstepping their bounds by pulling these constitutional rights with, like this may be, I don't know, this may be censored. Yeah. By the time we're done.
Yeah, no, like very, very well could be. Very well could be. Some of my videos have been out there, but, I was on Dr. Eric Naputi's show a week or so ago, and you can't even find the video anywhere now. Like, literally, it was up for 2 seconds, bro. Like, it was up for like 2 seconds. So, it's very fascinating what they're trying to do. In particular, I don't know what force you would call it, but there's certainly a force out there. And, I'm not about conspiracy theories because I don't think that helps us grow our mission. I think we have to go wide and then go up. But I mean, I'm just fascinated by and I think too, Josh, the thing I want all your viewers to know in New York is the guys need to get off their ASSs, okay? Because the women are getting out with kids, and the women are doing the job that you're supposed to do. So you guys, if you're sitting at home and you're watching the bus fly by, right, there's tickets on the bus, and we got to get that bus to turn around because it's headed towards socialism. So the question is, do you want to buy a ticket? And is your legacy going to be when your kid asks you in 20 years or 30 years, Daddy, Mommy, what did you do? Well, I joined the fight, and I was there with Dr. Cordie Lee Williams. I was there with Dr. Josh Hand. I was there with Dr. Billy DeMoss and Chris Lippy and the Freedom Angels and Lee Dundas. And I was in California. I was in New York, in New Jersey, fighting the fight. I was too scared and worried about my business, my practice, whatever the case might be. And, that's what I want chiropractors to hear out there. There's so many people that have profited off the profession. Where are they right now? They're not making any more videos. They're not doing anything. A lot of them, and for those getting involved, God bless you. But, Billy and I are trying, and Chris, we're trying to mobilize people. And the guys that are worried about their license or their practice or whatever, I'm sorry, maybe some people are going to hate me for this. I think you need to look down between your legs. I really do, because this is about America and freedom. Your practice, your license, all that stuff, it doesn't mean SHIT if we don't win this fight. This is a way bigger fight than 276, 277, okay? And I know there's a lot of guys that were involved in that. I wasn't, all right? I wasn't. This is way bigger than that. This is like, what do your kids have in 10 years? Do they have the upbringing that you had? And so, that's why it's just so important. And, that's why I'm so happy that you're doing a show like this so that we can mobilize people. And I'm telling, I don't care how many viewers somebody has. I'm getting on the air. I'm got some radio shows, other interviews today, tonight. I'm interviewing Kofi Anderson, who's going to be playing at Liberty Fest in Sacramento on the 23rd, next Friday, a week from today. I'm interviewing him today. Interviewed Buzz Patterson. But if you guys can't make it to Sacramento and something's going on in your state, mobilize people. These rallies that are 100, 200 people, it's not going to do anything. Yeah. It's not going to move the needle at all. It's not. We need thousands, right? We had 2,000 or 3,000. That was good, but we're going for 1 million, okay? Yeah. We're going for 1 million. That's what we're shooting for. Billy said, if it's 6,000, I'm not showing up. He was playing, but still, he's like, we're shooting big. Yeah. We're going for 1 million. And he got me to see that. I had to flip my brain around that. We're shooting for 1 million.
Yeah. No,
and that's where a mindset needs to be.
Yeah, no, I agree, Cordie. And I think every state, wherever you are, you need to, I'm not, the military mobilize in my head. That's the military word. But yeah, we need to mobilize. We need to actually, we need to show up and just protect our freedoms. And you know what? If we can do this in these big states that are the hardest locked down, then we all win, because the rest of the country is watching. The rest of the country is watching. New York State and California, big time. Maybe even New Jersey also is also on that list, and maybe Michigan and Illinois. But I really think we need to mobilize. And Cordie, I want to thank you for being here. And everybody, we're going to share a link, just so you know, because I know he's got to go see some patients. We're going to share a link to the video that we've been speaking about with him on the megaphone. We're going to share that link so you can and share it away. Please share this, share that. Thanks, link Josh. Away. And also get over, and if you're going to be showing up at these rallies, get yourself a 1776 Forever Free t-shirt and wear it, right? Because freedom is something that started a few years ago, right? A few years ago, right? So we should ultimately be doing this for the rest of our lives as Americans. The rest of the world, I hopefully follows suit, but this is our job here. So the link is on the screen. You can see that. Just type it into your browser, get a t-shirt sent to you. We'll send it over, and wear it proud, because you're American. So Cordie, thank you, bud. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my honor, Josh. Keep doing it, buddy. If you need anything, let me know, and give everybody a hug for me.
Yeah,
okay,
will do, brother.
All right, brother. God bless you, my man.